Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Blue Archive reaction. Today we have 193 and 195, skipping 194. These were both requested by Olivia Tang, again winning out the top vote for which ones I should get to next. Apparently these are from the same event as the last videos as well, so they should be somewhat thematically in that zone, but apparently are completely different songs, so it's not like I'm expecting the same song. But those will be the ones I'm listening to, so let's go! Ooh. Oh, this is entirely different. Okay, when he said different, I didn't think they meant this different. At first it was giving Undertale, now it's giving, like, generic anime slice of life. This is straight up out of an anime OST, it's gotta be. This was repurposed. I can just hear the main characters crying, screaming about their desires and how they thought that they were gonna be the ultimate Naruto Hidden Leaf Goku champion. You know, like... And you don't understand because you're not from my family, my Nakama. I'm clowning on this so hard, I'm sorry. It's beautiful, I'm just being an asshole. That was really pretty. I feel so bad for just clowning on it like a dick. Alright, so this one is really nice. I did a little bit more digging on this song. I wanted to apologize by putting a little bit more effort into this one. I got into more of what the key is, I plucked around on the piano, and I found it. It's the key of E flat, and the beginning notes are... beautiful. I'm just playing that on an online keyboard. I really need to get a physical one in here at some point. I love how this starts. It's such an open, melancholic feel. And if you're wondering why you haven't seen my hands till now, it's because my shortcuts on my browser force me to use my mouse to hit one of those keys. Otherwise, it tries opening a shortcut to a search, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I have to use the click for that high note. It's literally like the F key, and then I click on my mouse. It's very janky. I really need a keyboard. But the key of E flat major is really fun to play with and talk about because it's one of those keys that's kind of everywhere. Its relative key is C minor, which is used for everything, and a lot of songs are done in E flat major because it is one of the half downs of a guitar standard tuning of E. So you get a bunch of songs that are played in that key, for example, like Sweet Child of Mine from Guns N' Roses, or even Jar of Hearts by Christina Perri. Beautiful songs, both of them in their own rights, and they hit different emotional highs and lows in both. But that's the interesting thing about this key, is that you can slide between those pretty seamlessly because they're relatives, and you can have this really emotionally bearing, soul-bearing journey in the song, or you can have something a lot more rock-heavy, like a lot of Weezer's songs are tuned to E flat, I'm pretty sure. So like that's kind of what I mean. It's not everything is sad all the time, but it does carry that weight when you play it well. I think what does that for this song is definitely just that little passage. That, and just playing it so soft and slow. It sounds a little nostalgic. It sounds sad. It sounds like a longing. Whereas, like I said, you can really do whatever you want with this key and it'll work out. But considering that this is also a new musician in this collection, Synthion, I've never heard that name before listening to all of these songs that I have from Blue Archive. So that's a new one. And I'm not sure how their mind works with music. If this is kind of the emotion that they go for, if they handle these sorts of soft, emotional, very like heartstring pulling tracks and they specialize in that, or if it's one of those things where this person just knows this key very well because they're familiar with it as a guitar player potentially and just knows exactly how to meld that into whatever genre and to convey whatever message they're trying to. This is a beautiful song. I was not clowning on it to actually make fun of it. It is a really pretty song. If I'm making fun of it, that's a good thing in my opinion. I've always had that relationship with people and music. It's also kind of got this spacey interstellar thing with the synths underneath it, so it kind of feels like the emotion is lifted into a more calming and reflective point rather than a sad one. So it feels that nostalgic drive that I mentioned, like it just kind of locks itself into that. It never once felt the need to evolve into something bigger or more grand. It didn't have to. It was such a beautiful song for, I'm sure, a beautiful, touching moment, because that's exactly where a song like this would exist. It's such a beautiful track. I don't have much more to say. It is fucking gorgeous. And I think Synthion nailed that, and that's really all you can ask for at the end of the day, especially in music for games that are designed to support narrative backdrops like I'm sure this supports. It's just well done. So I'm really excited to hear more from Synthion at this point, because I'm not sure how many more they've made for Blue Archive, if any. And if this is a one-off, damn. But we've got to get to the other one yet, and this is by somebody much more familiar to the channel, Nor. All right. A little bit of a march in there. Woo. All right, yeah. It's completely different here. I was kind of expecting them to both be a little bit more like low key after the first one, but much more upbeat. This is more like what I expect out of Nor, but I don't know. The last one kind of made me think that both of them were going to be a little bit softer. Just bringing some energy back in, though. I always find myself vibing. I love that synth. That like really soft. It doesn't have a lot of attack. It's just whoop, whoop, whoop. I think Hyper Potions uses that same kind of synth as well. This feels very Hyper Potions, actually. Especially this drop. I didn't realize how appropriate that comparison would be till right now. Are we sure that Nor isn't just Hyper Potions? You know, like... This is like... It's Nor's energy. But it's actually surprisingly more subdued than other stuff I've heard from him. Yeah, I mean, that was a Nor song. 100% was definitely Nor. This one, like I had mentioned, Hyper Potions, that group, that duo, this had a lot of Hyper Potions energy, especially with that synth at the end. But of course, that's more because they just have similar sensibilities in their synth usage and what balance feels good between all those sounds. Of course, I love the inclusion of traditional instruments. As we all know by now, it's one of my favorite things to hear in in modern music. I'm not sure if that was a sound of a guzheng or some other zither instrument, you know, like just a tabletop plucked string style instrument, but it's still very much appreciated for that essence in there. It just makes everything feel more organic. And when you have all of that electronic sound around it, having just at least one organic instrument feels very nice, or at least a sample of one, because I feel like it ties everything together so much better. It like wraps it in a neat little bow. It just feels so good to have that organic sense to a track. I don't want to get too like woo-woo about this, but when you have a game with a narrative and characters that you're supposed to feel for and have that emotional response and connection with, I feel like having organic instruments makes much more sense and actually assists that desire and that goal, rather than having just synthetic stuff, which is perfectly fine when you're playing a game with like a faceless character with no attachment, or like you are the character and there's really no big emotional narrative behind it. But when you have those organic instruments in there, it helps the mind connect more because it's something familiar. Even though you may not play the instrument, it feels more real. You're able to connect that subconsciously to the actual world, and you're able to help move those emotional connections along just a little bit more, which is why I think a lot of video game soundtracks utilize strings or piano, which technically is a percussive instrument, but I won't fight it, in order to sell these sorts of emotions, because it's a very melodic instrument. You can do so much with it. You can let things ring or choke as needed. There's just so much dynamic range on stringed instruments to play with, and having that is very important. Whereas if you were just to be playing basically constant EDM, you don't really get the time to think about the emotional weight of a scene, because there's too much going on in the synthetic world for you to care about the organic world happening around you. Again, I'm not trying to get too like woo-woo about it. It's just my general opinion of music and the connection as a whole. But I think it befits the genre of a narrative to have those organic moments to connect with the player much more. And that's also the case with movies and every other media. It's just something I've observed personally. And if you have a different opinion, let me know. And if you know an exception, let me know, because I would be very interested in seeing one that works with purely synthetic everything and can still manage to pull that sort of emotional connection. So if you got one, let me know. But I think that's about all I got to say for these. Again, sorry about kind of clowning on the first one. I still think it's a beautiful song. It's a very well done piece. Both of these are well done in their own rights and in their own ways. I'm not fully sure how they connect to the event of the original. I can kind of hear it maybe with the Nor one, but the first one, maybe that was like a conversation. I don't, I'm not gonna try to guess that. There's too many questions that I would have in order to get to that point and learn all about this game, because these songs are so disconnected from the other media I've seen of Blue Archive. So I'm not gonna try, but there's still great songs even in a vacuum, and I love that we can enjoy that and respect all these and break things down when it's appropriate. I just love music, dude. It's so fun. But I digress. I've yapped plenty. This video is way too long. I took quite a bit of time working into that first breakdown, so I am going to call it a night. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, leave a comment down below of what songs I should get to, and I will do my best. And otherwise, if you like this video and you want to follow and support me for more, you know how to do all that, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!